Okay, and I sent you the actual, the auditor sent us an email,
Okay, okay, thank you.
but I agree, it's confusing to read.
Yes, yes, I would agree, thank you.
Okay, and I sent you the actual.
So she's not here.
She's not here. This is the second time we've tried to do this. She's not here. We can wait till the next time, absolutely. Well, you know what, to be told, we missed the first time.
Well,
Just we didn't catch it on our own, so we tried to catch it up. It just hasn't worked out.
and Dave doesn't want to increase. So he just delayed and delayed. Putting it on the agenda. Karen and I was free. And so it got put on the agenda. And, you know, first we couldn't really find their code.
Okay,
Then it's too late. Like it's just, you know, this is too late to put something else on the agenda. We haven't done any work.
we are live, mics are hot.
We haven't figured out.
Are we ready?
It's just a shit show. And I just, I was the same one.
And Michael Barr.
I said.
Good morning, my peeps.
Good morning, Frank. So are we ready, directors? We are live. We are live now.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you again. I call this meeting to order at 10:07. This is a regular meeting of the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors of May 13th, 2024. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for those that are joining us here in the boardroom, and thank you for those that are joining us via Zoom during today's meeting. Just a couple of announcements in terms of several ways the public can participate today. You can join the meeting in person. Thank you for those that are joining us here. But you can also join the meeting via Zoom. The meeting ID is located on the agenda. It's 845-0083-6234 with the passcode 65225, which is the same as code and meeting ID for our board of directors meetings. You can also join the meeting via Zoom. But I said that already. You can also join us via telephone at 1-669-900-6833. The username and ID again is the same as the passcode. And just a couple of announcements in terms of public comments. Those may be made here today via Zoom, or if you submitted also in writing, comments by May 10th at 3 p.m. was a cutoff time. And just reminders to the public speakers, MST is committed to civility and is mindful of its responsibility to protect the work environment. To assure civility in its public meetings, the public is encouraged to engage in respectful dialogue that supports the freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. Failure to engage in respectful dialogue will forfeit the speaker's right to participate in public comment. So with that, if we can get a roll call, please, and just to note that we do have Director Lorraine Worthy, who is participating remotely today from 1058 Centreville Circle in Gonzales. So with that, Jeanette, can we get a roll call, please?
City of Carmel by the Sea, Jeff Barron.
Here.
City of Delray Oaks and Shirley.
Here.
And we have City of Gonzales, Lorraine Worthy.
Present.
Thank you. City of Greenfield, Ariana Rodriguez.
Absent.
Thank you. City of King, Mike Labar.
Absent.
Absent. Thank you. City of Marina, Lisbeth Fisher.
Here.
City of Monterey, Ed Smith.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove, Joe Emilio.
Here.
City of San City, Marianne Carbone.
Present.
City of Salinas, Tony Barrera.
You are here.
City of Seaside, David Chico.
Here.
City of Soledad, Ana Velasquez.
Here.
County of Monterey, Luis O. Thank you. We have a forum.
Thank you. And I just do want to note as well that we do have Director Ariana Rodriguez, who is on Zoom from the city of Greenfield, but unable to participate as we didn't have the opportunity to notice properly the meeting. So, okay, so with that, we will move on to our next item of business, which is Pledge of Allegiance. And Director Fisher, can you lead us to the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we'll have a review of our agenda highlights for today, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Carlos Sedor.
Thank you, Chair, and real quickly, I think I need new glasses. Lisa had mentioned the issue. It's a lot of that's going around these days. On the consent agenda, you will find our audited financial statements for 2023. We have a contract extension with Allied Universal, who provides our security and mobile patrols at MST owned facilities. You have the draft minutes of the Measure Q Oversight Committee, just for informational only. And then we are recommending an update to our bus advertising rates, and this is tied to the budget, draft budget that your administrative committee received in the previous meeting. As far as action items, you'll receive another ongoing update for the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project. You'll have an update from our transit-oriented development study, and then we will receive a report based on a request by our contractor, MV Transportation, to modify their contract terms to increase their rates. And we will discuss how, and get some direction from you all for staff's response to this and next steps. We do have in closed session several items, a couple of items. Conference with labor negotiators regarding the outcome of MSTEA, status of MSTEA and MST negotiations. Conference with real property negotiations regarding some property there, and then negotiation of price in terms of sale of that parcel. So with that concludes my review of the agenda. Just make sure we make time for that closed session.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we'll move on then to our next item, which is public comments and matters not on the agenda. So at this time, any member of the public may address the board of directors on items not appearing on the agenda. Please note that speakers have a limited of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. And again, just to reiterate, the public is encouraged to engage in a respectful dialogue that supports the freedom of speech and values diversities of opinion. And as a reminder for those that are joining us via Zoom, if you can please use the raise hand feature that's on the bottom of your screen so we can recognize you. Okay, so with that, any of our residents that like to make any comments, those that are here in our room and our board, yeah, please come to the front. You can come to the podium.
Step up to the microphone, please.
I gotta switch glasses. Sorry. I didn't hear the length of time, but
3 minutes.
okay. Yeah, I figured it would be sort of short. I have 2 things. It's been I've been riding this bus system for a long time, and I've never really had anything to say until I've sort of gotten older. 2 things came up. I'm sort of visually challenged, and you decided to add this monstrosity to the right side of the bus for the wheelchair people. But by doing so, you've made it so that I can't see where I'm going at all. When you're sitting, yeah, you're sitting there, you can't see it because you can't see around it. And it doesn't matter if I go farther back, I can't see because I'm short-sighted. So I have to stand up in the aisle next to the where the line is, where the driver is, and stand, which is not an easy feat for me, to see where I'm going. And I really wish that this thing had been on the other side of the bus behind the driver, because at least then it wouldn't be blocking both sides of my view. But you've got the driver's side because the driver's there. Now you've got this on the right side as well. It's way taller than the seat, and when you're sitting, you can't see. It's really, I guess you'd have to see, but this is what it looks like. And if you could imagine sitting there and looking at this instead of what you're trying to see. It's really, I don't know why they came up with it, but they sure didn't think it through. And the other problem that I have is, as I'm getting older, I don't drive. My husband doesn't drive. And the doctor's offices when I was younger were in Monterey, and I could get to the doctor's offices. Now they're putting them all up here in this area. And And I have nobody to drive me. The one person I did, now they've got another life going on. And they don't have time. The other person's too old themselves. And I know nobody else. And there are buses coming up here, I realize, but they're limited hours. So either I have to get up really early to catch the bus and pray that there's a bus to go home, or spend the night up here. And the doctors, and therefore it finds it really hard. I've been really blessed to find somebody to take me up once a year just to get to my breast exam, because they moved it up here. And I have no way to get up, and I tried to get a hold of MST rides, I guess it was, but I got the paperwork and it's all for people who can't walk. Not people who can't see, not people who don't have anybody to take them. And I do have a disability that's legitimate, but overlooked. Sorry. Anyway, take forever to talk, and I know you have a sort of, so I wrote my concern out with the picture. Perfect. I thought it might help you guys, so that you have it in your paperwork.
Thank you.
Right. And we have a couple members of,
My name is Allison Lowenthal. I live at 575 Amador Avenue, Seaside, California. 93955.
Thank you, Allison, and we'll have your contact information. Okay, so at this time, do we have any other members of the public that wish to make a comment? For those that are joining us here, so we do, okay.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Chairman, members to the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity for speaking this morning. My name is Alberto Villa. I come here before, now I live in Greenfield. It's long drive. My first, I come here for bring some items, maybe my concern, my life. Second, well, first of all, it's very hard for me to reach the representative in Greenfield. If she or he is here, please later can I give me phone number or any way to contact, maybe a business card. Thank you so much. Second, I have trouble with when I use the MST on call in my city in Greenfield, because no work Saturday and Sundays when I need the service. So I ask you to, if it's possible, help to improve the service. My third and biggest problem is this. For example, yesterday, I have appointment. I need to attend, for example, my church service 9 a.m. I am making reservation one day before, so I make a reservation Saturday morning, 24 hours before the hour I need. When I call, I follow all the steps. For example, make phone call one day before, respectful way, and express the date, time, and location I need. But what was surprised is the lady to ask me to tell me, oh, it's full. There's I no guarantee you come in at the time you have it. The only time she gave me is 10 o'clock. For my need is very late. So I need some help to improve this. The another situation, for me, it's hard to believe we need more service in the area. We have a lot of not too many service in the area, and it's different in Salinas or Monterrey. Please improve the service in Greenfield, because it's very important. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that information. We'll have our team contact you in regards to the on-call service and making sure that we have correct information to be able to provide to you and to any of the residents that are calling our on-call service. Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that wish to make a comment? Those that are joining us here in our chambers? Okay, then I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. And I do see Shannon Rose has her hand up. And then we do have Director Rodriguez. Mrs. Rose, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I would like to make a comment to the MST today about the 2006 Urban Services Agreement that's in place that says that the East Garrison HOA shall fund local and regional transit services. There's no dollar amount maximum cap and no definition of transit services in this agreement that was signed on behalf of the HOA by the developer. The HOA didn't exist at the time, and the CSD was signed on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. The CSD didn't exist at the time. So this agreement says that the HOA should fund regional transit services, so meaning from homeowner dues or special assessments imposed by the HOA. The townhome and the master HOAs already can't pay existing expenses, and they've raised dues this year on townhome and single-family homeowners who pay $160 a month each to each HOA, so about $320 total. To fund transit services, the HOA would likely need to raise dues again or impose a special assessment. 20% of East Garrison homeowners occupy affordable housing units, and many are seniors living on fixed income. Being asked to pay for transit with HOA assessments, in addition to taxes we already pay for this service, creates a hardship. So we ask that the MST does not ask homeowners to pay for transit services via monthly HOA dues. If you do, we would probably be the first HOA in the county or the country to pay for bus service out of HOA dues. I would be curious to know if that's incorrect, but my research shows we would be the first in the country to do this. I would also like to request that the MST discuss this matter openly and put it on agendas going forward so that the public can participate. I ask that the MST discuss this matter openly, including a publishing correspondence sent to the MST by the HOA. And I hope that the MST will solicit public input on this topic. This is an unprecedented matter that could really impact a lot of homeowners in East Garrison. And I don't know if there's any other HOAs who would all be impacted also, because as far as I can tell, there's no other HOAs in the country or the county who are asked to pay for bus service with HOA dues, homeowner monthly dues, or assessments.
Thank you for those comments. We'll make sure we get correct information on that as well. Okay, so we'll move on to Director Ariana Rodriguez.
Hi all, and thank you for taking my comment this morning. I just raised my hand to respond and provide my information for the resident that called in regarding getting hold of me. So I will send that into to staff just to make sure that they can follow up with that resident. But I do want to just provide my city phone number in case anybody is trying to get a hold of me. They can do so at 831-296-0808. My city email is arodriguez@ci.greenfield.ca.us. Because to date, I haven't received any inquiries or concerns regarding MST, but I would like everyone to have that information to be able to contact me if they'd like to do so. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rodriguez. So I don't see any other hands up from those that are joining us via Zoom. So we will close the public comment period at this time, and then we will move on now into our consent. Oh, we have one more.
Oh, we have Lawrence.
Okay, Lawrence.
Yeah, I want to let you know,
Yes.
I share the same concerns as Shannon as a resident of East Garrison. So everything she said, yeah, I share the same concerns.
Okay, Lawrence, thank you. We will note that, same concerns as Mrs. Rose.
Thank you.
Any others that are joining us via Zoom before we close the public comment portion of our agenda? Okay, see none, then we will close the public comment portion of our agenda, and then we'll move on to our consent calendar. For today, we do have items 3.1 to 3.9 on the consent calendar. Do any directors wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion or comment? Okay, seeing none, do any members of the public wish to pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion or comment? Okay, seeing none, then I'll
Second.
Okay, so there's a first by Director Alejo and a second by Director Pacheco. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Yeah, sorry, roll call, because the rains, yeah. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, Director Barron,
Yes.
Director Shirley,
Yes.
Director Worthy,
Yes.
Director Fisher,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Emilio,
Yes.
Director Barron. Director Pereira,
Yeah.
Director Carbo,
Aye.
Director Pacheco,
Yes.
Director Velasquez,
Yes.
and Director Alejo. Thank you.
So motion passes, so thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is public hearings. We have none for today. Then we will move on to our action items, and we have 3 of those for today, and we'll start with item 5-1, receive an update on the SURF busway and bus rapid transit project. And this is on page 65 of your report, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Reinheimer.
Madam Chair, I would like to recuse myself because of the appeal to the city of Marina.
Perfect, thank you.
You don't have an item currently
Okay.
before the city.
Okay.
Lorraine.
I heard it was kind of the topic, so just checking.
Okay, so we're good.
I believe so.
Okay,
Okay,
so turn it over to Mrs. Lisa Reinheimer.
thank you. Lisa Reinheimer, Assistant General Manager for Monterey Salinas Transit. First, the good news. I always like starting with good news. AMBAG awarded $2 million to the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit Project through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Carbon Reduction Program last week. That amount is not reflected in your budget, in the board package. I didn't know until after the agenda was released. So that's good news. We heard from the Federal Transit Administration recently also that the capital investment grant funding has now been officially allocated. It was budgeted, but now it's officially allocated to the project. So that's $22.1 million. So the next step with the federal CIG funding is to get a small starts grant agreement signed by the FTA and MST, which is scheduled for December of this year, provided that all permits are received by the end of June. If they're not received by the end of June, that pushes out that small starts grant agreement date. MST also submitted a letter of no prejudice to the California Transportation Commission to start early work on the project prior to an allocation of the $25 million of Transit Intercity Rail Capital Program funds. So that will be on the commission's agenda in June, which coincidentally will be held in Monterey at the end of June, and we'll be hosting along with the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, a site visit of the SURF project. So that's very exciting. Last time you heard that we had received a coastal development permit and a tree removal permit from the city of Marina. The coastal development permit has been appealed by the handcars as well as Keep Fort Ord Wild. That's tentatively, well, that's scheduled for next week, the appeal at Marina City Council on Tuesday evening. Also, we've been working with Sand City staff on the coastal development permit through the city. That is tentatively scheduled for mid-June council meeting.
some of the details there, the mitigation plans still need to be worked out and potential costs associated with the Sand City and California Coastal Commission mitigation measures are not 100% finalized, so we're working on those details. We are, however, going to the Regional Park District in June to help us deal with the biological opinion, U.S. Fish and Wildlife biological opinion mitigation measures that are required. And that site is located at the Marina Dunes Preserve in Marina. So we'll be going to the Park District to finalize that agreement. And then what I'd like to do is see if Scott would call up that video. So what we do.
Morning around 8 o'clock, the traffic.
Oh, there, he started it too early. What we do is we collect video and information from our customers and our riders about their experience using the existing line 20. And this is one that we collected a little while ago about the impact of traffic congestion to our passengers going through Highway 1 where the surf project would go. So Scott, if you wouldn't mind.
Morning around 8 o'clock, the traffic's really, really bad. We're almost at a standstill a lot of time. Well, bus that's supposed to be, I think we're usually like 60 minutes late if at 8 o'clock.
And sometimes when I go to work in the morning, I have to be there by 9, so I try to catch the 8 o'clock bus. Sometimes I don't get there till 9:30, even 10 o'clock. So, you know, it takes more than an hour. Oh, I mean, not just me, but I'm sure a lot of people who, you know, end up taking the bus 2 hours early just to get to work on time. You know, it would alleviate a lot of stress for a lot of people.
On MST's website, it usually tells you how long is the wait, usually about 50 minutes, but due to traffic, it could take to like an hour 10. Sometimes I am worried that I will show up late to class.
Thank you, Scott. So you can see, you know, the people that are most impacted by traffic congestion and our buses going through the Highway 1 corridor are students, they're hourly workers, they're trying to get to their place of education or work on time, and that can be a real impact for those folks. So I wanted to share that in case you follow us on social media. These are some of the things that we're putting up on our social media sites. And then finally, one issue that you may have heard about is a question about the use of the Monterey branch line and how TMC purchased it in 2003 using Proposition 116 funds. And we've looked into this issue and have no concerns about the use of the Proposition 116 funds and MST's Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project. And what I've done is I've shared with you, I think you have it in front of you, the Monterey branch line and Proposition 116 issue, both in the definitions of Prop 116 as well as the Caltrans implementing guidelines. It does allow for the use of exclusive mass transit guideway projects, also known as a busway. That's exactly what we're doing. We're designing, constructing an exclusive busway within the public right-of-way. Only buses are allowed. And it's only MST operating as a public agency through that busway. So I wanted to share that with you so that you have the information that's accurate and to the point. The other thing that we've talked about, I think we talked about it last month, was the existing track conditions, which I've also included in the handout. They're unusable, they're not salvageable, they're unsafe for rail use for a number of different reasons. And on the last page, you'll see exactly how MST's busway and future light rail or other rail can coexist within the existing right-of-way. And let me just say that we are not planning for rail right now. Rail is a 20-year plus project in the future. What we're planning right now is a BRT system, and we're not putting the time and energy into designing a rail for the future, although we are considering the space needs that rail would need in the future. So I wanted to get that out on the table so you all have the information that you need, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Lisa, for the report and for the additional information on the Proposition 116. Do we have, let me take it out to the public and then I'll come back to the directors. If there's any questions or comments. So do we have any questions or comments from the public that are joining us here in our boardroom? Okay, seeing none, then let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. If there's any comments or questions on item 5-1 from those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, seeing none, then I'll come back to the directors if there's any questions or comments from the directors. Director Herrera.
Yes, with the appeal in front of us, so what does that mean? What do you think may happen in this situation?
So the appeal for the city of Marina is for all of 0.37 acres, which happens to be within the city of Marina's jurisdiction under their coastal development program. It's about the size of 2 large lots, housing lots. So it's very small in terms of the actual appeal space. The condition there is lots of use, rail. It has an access road on one side for the Monterey One water folks to get to a pump station to maintain it. On the other side is the Caltrans rec trail. There's a whole bunch of activity that kind of goes along in that corridor. So it's highly used. It's in line with the city of Marina's coastal development program. They recognize it as a long-term, rail use, transportation use. And since MST's CDP within Marina was already approved by the Planning Commission, the appeal question is, did MST not comply with the rules in which the city of Marina, provides for coastal development permits? I contend that we've complied. Not only that, but we've gone over and above what is required for any of the permitting that we've done within the cities. So it's up to the appeal people, the appellants, I guess, to prove that we haven't done what we're supposed to do.
And with these appeals people, can this go on for long term or?
No.
Okay.
So again, we had a unanimous approval of our permit from the Marina Planning Commission. The city attorney for the city of Marina, really defined this in the Planning Commission meeting as a very narrow decision on their behalf. Did the applicant MST meet the requirements of the city for achieving a permit? They, and all this other stuff about Prop 116 is not germane because the city of Marina is not a funding participant in this project. So with that, they had a unanimous decision to grant the permits. So the Marina Handcar people who will be, their lease expires at the end of September. Frankly, whether this project moves forward or not, but they are, I think, trying to maintain a business model that they knew that was temporary in nature. And they're trying to make it something more than a temporary in nature business. And they have the right to appeal. They're appealing. As Lisa mentioned, the decision, though, again, will be very narrow focused on the behalf of the city council is, did MST comply with the permit requirements? Did the city council make some error in how it was considered? I think this will be a pretty perfunctory matter before the Marina City Council. Although I will be leaving our conference in Sacramento early so that I can be there just in case. You never know.
Yes, thank you.
Just also for the record, it's October 31st of this year was when their lease ends.
October 31st.
I've
thank you.
reviewed that lease too many times to
Okay.
admit.
October 31st is when the term.
Okay. Any additional comments?
Yeah, so two questions. One, the CDP is not available to the Coastal Commission in and of itself. Or it
From
is.
City of Marina?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it will get presumably lumped in, or it could get lumped in with the actual permit, the granting of the permit,
Yes.
Could be.
depending on the whims of staff.
Correct.
And then second question is who is the handcar lease with? Is it with the city of Marina or is it with
It's-
CAMC?
Complicated. So the sublease itself with the handcar is with the City of Marina. The City of Marina then has a lease with TMC. So there are two leases. But the one specifically with the handcar is with the City of Marina.
So if the handcar company's ability to proceed is dependent on them, on both of those leases being renewed.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, directors? Lisa, I just have a quick question, not on the appeal so much, but on the regional park district that you're going to in June. Do we have any concerns there in terms of presenting there, or it's just?
We don't have any concerns, no. We have been put off a couple of times on their agenda, but I think we're resolving those issues and should be fine for June.
Okay, thank you. And then on some of this information, because I know there's a lot, and I know MST has a evolving website. We have the website with all information on the surf. So is this something that we recommend to be put on the website, just in terms of questions that people may have in regards to these specific issues that have come up with Proposition 116? I'm not sure or not, but I know that there's a lot of information there, and as this continues to grow, we have some concerns, just so that way anyone can go on our website and really look at what is actual and factual, so we have correct information and updated information there as well, that we can direct our residents to go to.
Yeah, so this is a little bit put together at the last minute for you folks, but we can clean it up and put something a little bit more polished, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Comment. I want to make sure that we don't say that it's 116 issues. It's not 116 issues. There are 116 facts that we need to report on the website. However, those parties that are the appellates may claim they have issues. We don't. We stand on sound legal advice in terms of what our reporting is on 116. So we don't have issues. We have sound factual information.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you,
Alright.
Dr. Smith. Yeah, and thank you for that. So I think for me, that's why it's important to be able to put it on our website, so we have
Sure.
actual information
yeah,
that
factual
we can
information.
direct our public to be able to understand what is factual in this case. So
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so there is no additional comments, questions on this item. Then this is just an update. Thank you, Lisa, again,
you're
for
welcome.
keeping the board updated on where we're at, and congratulations again on the AMAG allocation of $2 million. So we'll move on now to our next item, which is item 5-2, transit oriented development, receive report on presentation of the transit oriented development study, and I will turn this over to Michelle Overmeyer, and this is on page 63 of our board packet.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. Michelle Overmeyer, Director of Planning and Innovation. As she mentioned, item 5.2, the staff report is on page 63 of your full agenda package. In February last year, your board received a presentation at the start of the transit-oriented development planning study. The study is complete now, and our consultant, Mike Iswalt with Kimley Horn, is here this morning to give a presentation. But before I hand it off to Mike, I did want to give a little context for those of you who might not remember the presentation a year ago. Over 80% of MST bus riders walk or bike ride to a bus stop, and that's called the first mile or last mile segment of a trip. And it should be safe and accessible for people who are not in cars. So MST has no ownership or maintenance over the local roadways, so we're limited in the improvements that we can do on our own. The Federal Transit Administration has said that they'd like to see a strong land use and transportation connection when they award grants to MST. They're particularly interested in the corridor along the SURF project. And it's for that reason that we undertook this study. There are a number of improvements that are identified in the study, but these are very concept level. They're not part of the SURF project. These land use and transportation recommendations are a guidance for MST, TAMC, and your cities to consider as future developments occur and as future grant opportunities occur. So I'll hand it over to Mike now, who will walk you through the study.
Great. Thank you very much, Michelle. I'm Mike Iswell with Kimley Horn. It's great to be here with everyone this morning. Next slide, please. So this is just a diagram showing the SURF busway and BRT project. This is the project map showing the route from Monterey to the city of Salinas. As Michelle said, we were looking at the interaction and the connection between land use and transportation and these and the SURF improvements along this corridor. Next slide. So transit-oriented development is a concept that really draws upon designing and locating higher density mixed-use developments close to transit infrastructure with accessible pedestrian and bicycle facilities so that we can enable people to get to transit. So as Michelle had said, 85% of MST riders use walking or biking to get to transit. So we want to try to make this as safe as possible. So our TOD planning study explored strategies that looked at this connection with really a focus on ridership. So we were looking at ways that we could help to or recommend different strategies with support from the cities to be able to increase population and development around transit to drive ridership, with really the objectives as shown up here on the slide, with the study looking at strengthening that regional collaboration. So we've had a technical advisory committee throughout the project that had members of staff from each of the cities. We also went to the various planning commissions and city council meetings to be able to present the findings of this study. We also, as part of the study, are recommending TOD strategies and best practices. We are looking at these, as Michelle had mentioned, the first and last mile connections. So this is the different pedestrian safety, crosswalks, improvements to bicycle infrastructure to help people get to transit. And then really all of this is to help support a broad, to help these different projects qualify for a broad set of different grant funding opportunities. Next slide, please. So as part of our study, we first developed a series of transit-oriented development types. So these are different size of developments, density types, that different building heights, things like that we could apply across the corridor. So we were looking at 5 different study areas along the corridor from Monterey, Sand City, Seaside, Marina, and Salinas, and we applied these different development types along the corridor to help us really understand where this type of development was possible. And we did this by looking at different parcels, looking at undeveloped parcels, again, things that were within roughly about a half mile of the corridor. And we used these different types to help us to understand what was really possible in terms of the number of units, the number of people that could then live within walking distance or biking distance of the corridor, and then how that would translate into transit ridership. So for each of these types, we had some unit counts, we had parking requirements, things like that, and all of that is documented in the study. Next slide, please. So these are the 5 study areas. So they're shown in yellow here. These, again, are roughly within about a half mile to 3/4 of a mile within the line 20 or the future surf corridor. And those three different types, which kind of range from a small residential type to that larger scale, more urbanized development type, we looked along the corridor and identified a series of these different opportunity areas around the corridor, and we applied those different TOD place types to be able to evaluate the population and ridership potential along the corridor. And so that's what we're showing here is within each of those 5 study areas, we applied those different types and used that throughout the analysis. Next slide, please. So we'll just flip quickly through these. Each of these maps shows within the black outlined area, we've identified some areas that are adjacent to the corridor or just off the corridor. In Salinas, we actually looked at a slightly larger area, which goes east out of downtown towards along the Alisal corridor. And on here, we have a couple of images of existing TOD, which is located in these areas, just as a good indication of some of the development which is already happening out there in the corridor. But within each of those blue and pink areas, these are the areas that we were identifying some additional opportunities for TOD investment. Next slide. So this is then showing the city of Marina. There's obviously a number of opportunity areas along Del Monte and Reservation Road. All of these areas are consistent with recent planning efforts by the city of Marina, and the different density and sort of unit counts that we were looking at are also consistent with current planning efforts by the city. Next slide. This is, of course, looking around the 5th Street Transit Center. So in the CSU Monterey Bay area, we've identified a couple of small areas there. And then, of course, an area to the east that's kind of incorporated into the campus. But these were, again, these different opportunity areas looking for some potential areas of future development. Next slide. Seaside and Sand City, lots of different opportunity areas, obviously, including areas around West Broadway, south of Tioga. Next slide. And then in our last area, this is Monterey. So this is as well as parts of Seaside. So this includes areas along along Fremont, as well as some opportunity areas along Del Monte, adjacent to the surf corridor. Next slide. So then along with all of these land use opportunities, we then identified a series of bus stop and intersection improvements to really go along with all of those different opportunity sites. And these transportation improvements are those first and last mile connections to really improve things like high visibility crosswalks. There are some bicycle infrastructure projects in there, as well as some enhancements to bus stops. But just to say that these stops are not included as part of the SURF project, that's why they're included as part of this study, so that as developments occur, there are opportunities, as well as grant funding opportunities, to be able to build some of that infrastructure out over time. Next slide. So we can just probably quickly go through these. These are also, this is Marina. There's a couple of locations here for existing projects, which the city of Marina is looking at, and some along Reservation and parts of Del Monte. And those are highlighted here. And again, we've coordinated with city staff to ensure that what we're showing here is consistent with the city's plans. Next slide. So again, a number of intersection and some bus stop improvements recommended as part of the study. Next slide. And then this is sort of the last area within Monterey and Seaside. Okay, so next slide. So there's all of these improvements are identified, documented, and actually costed as part of the as part of the study. And what we have here is we've just been able to kind of group and quantify all those. And we provided some high level cost estimates for some of the different types of intersection improvements, some of the bike lane improvements and some other concepts in there, the bus stops as well. There's I think a common theme here of being able to requiring my glasses, but this is on here. There's a summary of the costs and kind of a breakdown just to be able to provide a starting place as MST, TMC, the cities look to develop out some of these concepts over time. This would be a starting place for going to developing some cost estimates and things for those grant opportunities. Next slide. And just one slide here on the whole purpose of this was to develop, as part of all of those opportunity areas, as well as those transportation improvements to promote that first and last mile connectivity to transit. We developed some ridership forecasts as part of the study across a couple of different scenarios. And this is just showing blue is the existing baseline ridership along the corridor. The gray is the increment that we're already taking accounted for as part of the CIG grant for the SURF corridor. And then everything shown in yellow is the increment on top of that the strategies and the opportunity areas that we document in the study can actually provide ridership increases over and above that. So as a set of strategies to help to drive ridership growth and help with the sustainable kind of growth and activity of MST, all of these strategies we show in the document can really help with driving some of those benefits. Next slide. And this slide here is just showing some of those increases, which range from roughly just below 10% to about 18%, depending on the different development scenarios and how there's obviously a lot of uncertainty with how development can occur along the corridor. But these are all concepts that we know can help to drive ridership increases over time. Next slide. And so we had gone to all of the cities, and this was to help to coordinate with them and just to really state that obviously MST is responsible for the operation of transit, whereas what we were asking of the cities was to really strengthen that regional collaboration and to help to develop some of the concepts that are part of this study as development occurs, and to also then look for these grant funding opportunities over time. So with that, that's our presentation. We'll take questions.
Thank you, Mike, for the presentation, and thank you for all the work that's been done with the TOD and also working with our cities to get feedback from them as well. So let me take it out to the public first and see if there's any comments or questions, those that are joining us here in our boardroom. Okay, for those that are joining us via Zoom, are there any questions or comments? Okay, then let me bring it back to the Director Pacheco.
Yeah. Amy, did you participate in city council meetings, or did you talk to staff at the city of Seaside? And in your report, I guess we're going to be developing about 3,000 people houses or units in Campus Town. Was that a consideration for residential area as such?
So I'll start with answering the first part of it. We had a technical advisory committee made up of mostly planners from each of the 5 cities along the corridor that we studied. And we met probably 4 or 5 times throughout the whole process. So city staff was involved. And then we did presentations to either the Planning Commission or the city councils. I think we went to Seaside City Council. We did not go to Sand City's council meeting. The staff was not able to get us on the agenda in time for us to close out the consultant's contract. As far as Campus Town, so that's a development that's happening mostly east of General Jim Moore. I think that might have been just outside of our study area for
Thank you.
Seaside.
Thank you. Director Carbone, yes.
Yes, so on page or slide 13, I didn't hear about this here till kind of after after I start, there was some public comment that came out. They were asking for public comment. And so I noticed that on slide 13 that there's a major improvement area at the end of Olympia, and that would be closing off the street. And I have had multiple calls from those businesses that have deliveries in like semi trucks. I guess there's it's actually one of the businesses is, some of the businesses is Seaside, and they were contacting me because they said that if that street is closed off, that they cannot have deliveries. They cannot get anyone turned around there off of Olympia there. And that even exiting, I guess they'd have to go through a private property Home Depot. The Home Depot area, it would be impossible to make a right turn on the Catalina Street. And therefore those trucks will be going through residential areas. So I don't know, so there may be impacts there. So I did want to state that here at the meeting. And I'm sure that you'll probably have heard they did not know where to send a public comment to, whether it was Sand City or the Seaside. So that's some of the comments that I've heard in the city of Sand City. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Carbone. So for that, can we, if people have public comments, would they be sending them to who?
So we've closed the public comment on this. When we did go to each city, we asked for comments and they've been incorporated into the final report. This particular improvement, like I said, it's concept level. We're not putting forth any projects. We don't have funding for this, but it is consistent with the Seaside Broadway plan. I'm not going to get the whole title of that plan correct, but this is kind of an interim step to what was in the city's adopted plan.
Thank you. Director Pacheco?
Yeah, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I really tried to be. I hope this goes beyond the concept plan. Maybe could be further discussed as it impacts the Broadway area and other areas, because I'm not sure if the council as a whole, if they were present, grasped the impact or no impact or the positive impact. So when it goes beyond concept, hopefully you'll come back and visit, and I'll be there and try to remember, because it just doesn't even ring a bell at all. And that's probably on my fault, but or not. I don't think I would have missed this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Pacheco. And just, I guess, to reiterate, I think, Michelle, what you had mentioned is that the technical advisory committee that was comprised of planners from the cities were the ones that were engaged in this dialogue, right? So, and that it was presented either at planning or council. So for some of the cities in that proposed area may not have gone to your council, but to make sure we go back to check in with our planning staff and making sure that as elected officials, we're apprised of what's going on also within our cities. So Director Shirley?
Yeah, thank you for this presentation. I was curious if you had presented this to Tansy at all. And the reason why I ask is just because on page 14, I see the bicycle improvement along Canyon Del Rey. And along that segment would be a segment for Fortag. And so if you could show that this would also benefit surf, but if they're going out for grants for segments of Fortag, it seems like this would be a great study to sort of bolster the idea that section be developed for that multi-use trail.
Yeah, that's a good point. This work shows that we've started that regional collaboration. And so when we apply for active transportation grants, where the cities do, they have this as, a base. TMC did have a member on the technical advisory committee.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Shirley. Director Bishop?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, also thank you for the presentation and I support this so much. I just returned from 3 weeks in my home country, the Netherlands, and I just can't wait to see more bike lanes here, more densely populated areas close to public transportation, etc. But for Marina, meanwhile, there's a plan for the entire length of Del Monte Boulevard for road diet from Highway 1 till Reservation Road. No funding yet, but the plan is there. So this could be completely blue in this map. So that's it for me now. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Bishop. And any final comments? So we move on. Okay, Director Smith?
Yeah, real quick. I'm not sure how we deal with, this is a focused project for limited areas of each city. And I noticed that some of the borders are just outside of areas that we would say that would probably be opportunities in the future. As an example, going out towards the airport, going to Highway 218 and 68, going to Ryan Ranch. So I'm sure that this would be an opportunity for the individual planners of a individual city or county to take this and expand it out to make those connections. I know that with your scope of work, you were not looking much beyond the 5 zones, but I see in Monterey that there's other opportunities to go further out to Ryan Ranch where there's large housing, going out to Olmsted where there's potential housing, going to Ryan Ranch where folks need to go to work. So I see this as like an opportunity for the individual departments of the planning to take it and then expand it on their own as they need to. So,
We're
thank
willing
you.
partners.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Director Smith, for that, just making sure it's a baseline study for us, right? And then going out to our cities, and obviously some of this may change. But making sure that at least we have some information in terms of those areas that were studied within that. And I think just on the regional, this is my comment on the regional collaboration. That is critical, and that we look at, as Director Shirley said, TAMSI and also MBEG, because I know they have the funding sources. So, as our cities, as we're applying and we're looking at, transit-oriented development, that we really, it is overlapping, so that we really make sure that we are communicating with all of those entities as well.
And sure,
Yeah.
I would just add for the county, obviously, we released our housing element on May 6th, trying to get that done by the end of the year. But on some of these, I mean, at least for the unincorporated Monterey County, there's significant areas of growth in the Carmel Valley area, the mouth, and then down that road, certainly around the airport as well. Is county staff also involved in this?
I don't know that we had county. I think we focused on the cities along the Line 20 corridor.
Well, just wanted to bring that up because the maps are made public, are now public, but the areas of future growth are happening more in Supervisorial District 5, in those particular areas where.
And we have staff actively monitoring this particular project.
Okay.
There's been some news about it. I've communicated with Michelle to make sure, and she assured me that we have a specific staff member dedicated to the County of Monterey's housing element.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So thank you for the report. That was just a reporter presentation, so we really appreciate that. Thank you for all the hard work on that. So we'll move on to our next item of business, which is our last item, 5-3, receive a report request by MV Transportation to modify the contract terms to increase their rates and direct staff to return to this board with a recommendation. I'll turn it over to Mr. Norm Tuwiki.
Thank you.
Page 65.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Norman Tuwiki. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Monterey Lanes Transit District. I want to call your attention to item 5-3, which is also found on page 65 of in your board packet. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. Thank you, board members, for allowing me to present to you today. And I'll just kind of summarize what's in front of you today. In April of this year, MV Transportation's leadership initiated discussions with MST regarding an increase to their contractual rates. MV's leadership had expressed to MST that they had experienced the losses on their contract last year, and they expect to experience losses this year as well. MV explained that their losses were mostly attributable to 4 specific items. Number 1 is high inflation. As you can imagine, none of us had expected inflation rates that we're experiencing today. Secondly, they did not anticipate the hourly wage increases that they experienced for their frontline employees. So to attract, to retain, and hire high-quality employees to this contract, MV has had to pay higher than budgeted wages that they had expected. Thirdly, they're experiencing an unanticipated insurance costs that were well beyond what they had anticipated, similar to what you as homeowners or residents of this community, you can understand those as well. Lastly, lower than expected revenue hours. MV expected to operate much more hours than they've operated. None of us had anticipated a pandemic that we had, and that was a direct result and the first initiated, I guess, lowering levels of revenue hours that they operated. Based on our preliminary analysis of their request, the financial impact that they're looking for could result in upwards of $3 million annually to this contract. MST's staff, Kevin and I, also along with some of the executive staff, your CEO and also our assistant general manager, we've been analyzing this. We'll continue analyzing the proposed rate increase, and we intend to bring back to this board an analysis along with several different options for you to choose and recommend. So I'll pause here and ask if you guys have any questions that I might be able to answer for you.
Thank you for that. So let me take it out to the public and then I'll bring it back to our directors. So any members of the public have any comments or questions on item 5-2? Okay, none from our boardroom. I'll take it out to those that are joining us virtually. Any members of the public? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I'll bring it back to the board. Director Barrera.
Mr. Tutuviki, on number 2, any idea they've been successful being able to hire?
They have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have been. We meet with MV weekly. Kevin Allshouse is the contract manager who oversees their contract. He's in lockstep with them. I think currently right now they're fully staffed. It's taken them a long while to get there, and part of that effort required that they increase the hourly rates. And so they have increased hourly rates, outpaced what's in their contract and what they submitted to us, but they are fully staffed at this moment.
And with this $3 million annual budget, how does that look like as far as with us with MST and?
Well, it's not something that we are contemplating, and we will want to come back to your board with an analysis of do nothing. The contract is a contract, you're taking a loss. Okay, that's on you, but that gives them they can, cancel the contract in 90 days notice, which puts us in a bind.
Yeah.
We could say, okay, here's $3 million. That might, we went out to competitive bid for this project, and the difference between the next lowest bid was more, it was less than $3 million. So that might open us up. There are other options of maybe phasing something in over time, or even part of the analysis that MST will conduct is what would happen if MST operated it all directly over some portion of time as well. So we want to do a full analysis and then get some direction from your board. And maybe staff will have a recommendation after we get the full analysis, but we want to come back to your board with a full analysis to get direction before we agree to anything with MV. So those are currently the options that we are seeing. There may be something else that emerges over time.
Yeah, that's right.
And Madam Chair, if I may, I hope I'm not out of line on the question on the quality of service. I don't know if I can ask that question. Because we are talking money, how does the quality of service improve?
Yeah, I feel like it's improved. Matter of fact, I think Kevin did an analysis on the number of complaints that we've received, between MST directly operated and MV directly operated. I'll tell you the folks that MV, their customers, their client, their their clientele are fragile, they're older, they're, people with who suffer from various disabilities, but so they tend to speak more and they have the ability to do so, and we should react appropriately. I can tell you they're about neck and neck. I think MV is actually a little bit less the number of complaints, but keep in mind we do operate much more service compared to MV. With that said, I feel confident in saying that they've been delivering almost exactly to the contract. There are a couple of stumbling points that they're not able to hit, but they're very close. Their on-time performance is nearing contractual obligations of 90%. They're right about there. Their passengers per revenue hour are just about there as well. So they are getting very close to living up to what they're expected to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Smith?
Yes, what's not included here is when the contract expires.
2027.
And currently our annual cost for that contract, and you talk about they're requesting an increase of potentially upwards of 3 million. But what's not here is what do we pay them now?
Yeah. About 9 million. Okay. So Kevin, we're paying about 9 million per year right now per contract. So that'd be upwards of 12 million. Could be an increase of up to 12 million per year.
Okay.
With the request that they ask them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Director Emilio?
Sounds like we just going to get an analysis.
Correct.
Yeah.
This was just to let you know, we don't want to surprise you next month and have you say, what? So this is a teaser.
And Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to thank staff for responding. I know there's been some complaints from La Casa and Salinas with some of the elderly and disabled drivers, but I appreciate the attentiveness that staff has given to some of those complaints by the staff at La Casa. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just have Director
Yeah,
Bennett.
thank you. One quick question. Number 3 is lower than anticipated revenue hours billed. But you stated a few minutes ago that, passengers per revenue hour sort of up to expectation. So is that the rides program?
So there's a total number of hours that we put into the request for proposal that they bid on, and that was about 120,000 total hours. The number per year annually. So the number of hours that they are currently operating are roughly, I would say, 15%, less than 20% of what they had hoped to operate on. And so the way that they build their budget is, we expect to operate 120,000 revenue hours per year. And as you decrease, I don't know what their break point, even point is, but we can figure that out. So essentially what they're saying is that because we're operating less revenue hours, we're not making as much money as we had expected to.
They have a fixed amount of overhead,
Sure.
upper management, that's being spread out over less hours than they budgeted. Although we gave them in the contract, in the RFP, we said our hours might range from a low to a high, and we gave them a range. We're operating within that range.
Yeah.
So they were aware that we might not operate as much service one year as the next. However, their issue is they're not covering their fixed costs and overhead in order to make a profit that they desire to make.
So when you said 20%, that means they're operating at 20% below 120,000.
They're probably operating about 15% of what the 120,000 hours they expected to bill.
So they're only operating at 18,000 hours a year?
Oh, I'm sorry. Deduct 18,000 off the 120. Yes.
Yeah, they're operating at about 85%.
85%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. And then just so you're aware that there is a 20% clause. So if it goes up or down, the total number of revenue hours goes up by 20% or down by 20%, that triggers an automatic renegotiation of rates. And we've never reached that threshold either way, either up or down.
And they're operating below at 85% because that's sort of the work that MST has given them in terms of the selection of the routes and whatnot.
Yes, because our ridership, post-COVID, we're at about 85% ridership. So we're at about 85% hours. So, yeah.
So I have Director Pacheco. You have a question?
Maybe this is so good. So they're not at their peak monies or hours of service.
Correct.
So if you could look at it a different way, then we're going to be paying to offset their costs in general speaking?
Yeah, that's absolutely what's happening.
Okay, I thought that, I didn't want to be.
That's the ask. That's the ask.
Okay.
So any final questions on this? So I know this is a report. Thank you, Norm, for bringing this to our attention, but there will be a full analysis coming back to the board. And based on some of the questions from the directors, making sure that we have really specific data in terms of service, you know, especially in terms of some of the improvement in service to the contract. And then for me, it's what year are we in the contract? And then was there any contract language that was included that this can happen, or this is unprecedented? We haven't seen this before in contracts.
So in the contract, it speaks to a 20% threshold, whether it's an increase of 20% above the 120,000 hours that were in the request for proposal, or below that. So if it either goes above or below, then it triggers an automatic renegotiation of rates. So that is in there.
But
We're not there.
We're not there.
Okay.
We're not
They're asking for
Okay,
extra
so-
consideration.
So that way it's clear what's in the contract provisions that allow for
Yeah,
this. So,
That's right.
okay.
And I'll just say that nobody expected the pandemic and nobody anticipated what would have
So-
happened, but.
Okay.
I would ask one more quick question. You know, MV provides these services to other transit agencies as well.
Correct.
So my question would be for you is, what is MV doing with respect to other transit agencies?
So
we can't be alone. And is this going on elsewhere, or?
I will say that we're in the process of identifying agencies who are, that'll be part of that analysis, and you'll receive that information next month.
Perfect, thank you. So
Madam
we'll
Chair.
come back with more, yes, Director Pereira.
Just one last, thank you, Mr. Barron. You know how we're allowed as board members to get on the MST bus? Are we allowed to go on on a ride along with MV?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
they should,
Absolutely.
they should recognize your, if you have a current ID,
There you
the
go.
right stamp.
I got dollars.
My stamp still says 2023, by the way. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Talk to Jeanette about that. So we'll get this back before you
You've
do-
got the stamp.
Okay.
Right now.
Yes.
So-
Wait, maybe he's been banned.
So we'll move along, and we do have some items for closed session. So thank you so much
Sure.
for that, Norman.
Yeah, I do want to clarify, in order to ride the paratransit program, you have to go through the certification process. So you can ride all of our Fixer Out, but if you wanted to ride the paratransit, you have to go through certification for that.
Okay.
So-
So
Sorry, immigration.
That's right.
I got my
So
green
the
card.
directors need to go through the certification.
No, it's, yeah. it's-
Oh.
That's our paratransit program.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So we'll wait for that to come back to us. So we'll move on to our next item now on our agenda, and that will be now our recognitions. And this is the May 2024 Employee of the Month. Janet Madler, who's our fleet supervisor, and I'll turn it back to you, Norman.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be here for the next presentation as well. We have Noe that I'll introduce in this, but I wanted to introduce you to Janet Madler. She is our fleet supervisor, works out of the Salinas facility. She has been selected as the May 2024 Employee of the Month. In April of 1983, MST hired Janet as a fleet maintenance mechanic, and over the last 40 plus years, with MST, Janet has consistently increased and improved her knowledge of heavy duty vehicle maintenance, and that has directly translated into, wonderful projects, all types of projects that we've been able to complete due to her leadership. She's been involved in a few that I'll just mention really quick. MST's wave service back in 1996. She coordinated the installation of our advanced communication system back in 2002. She successfully installed our new GFI fare boxes back then, so in 2011, and many more. And I went through her personnel file and I tallied up all of these things that she's done, right? And I tallied up 106 various awards and recognitions that she has accumulated. We just want to thank you, Janet, for all of the hard work. Thank you for, your commitment to MST. And Janet is an example. She's a public transit ambassador, and we respect her. We see her, and we really value all of the work that she's done for us. So.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Do you want to?
Yes, you're welcome. And just real quickly, I first met Janet before I was even at MST. I was working for Long Beach Transit, and we came up here and they have a female maintenance supervisor? What? It was pretty unusual in the day, but she has continued to have a reputation within the industry as being just a very detail-oriented person. She makes our vendors, our bus manufacturers quake in their boots when Janet Madler goes in and has to take a review, because there's nothing getting by her. As far as the safety and quality of our buses, it's due to Janet and all of her hard work, and she has trained a whole team here to follow in those footsteps. So with that, Janet, I'd like to present you with the May 2024 Employee of the Month pen and plaque, and the check has already been sent. Look at all the it's got eight diamonds on that pin of hers, so that it's just glaring here. It's hard for me to concentrate. So go ahead, Janet.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. MST has been a great place to work, and I'll work as long as I can. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Just one more thing. I've got, I grew up with 10 boys in my family, one sister, but I have 3 daughters and I have a granddaughter who will be here at the end of June next year. And I speak about Janet because she's been an example, of my daughter's hard work. I've always worked as hard as I can to show them an example of what you can do, just by working hard, getting educated, doing what you're supposed to do. But this is an example that I like to speak to. Yep.
Everyone, MST. All right, and one more. Thank you.
All right.
You want to look at it for one round?
You just need to have a limit.
Thanks. I'll do that.
Or Kane will.
Okay, it's my pleasure. Thank you again for allowing me to be here to introduce our Employee of the Month for April 2024. So Noe was not able to join us last month. So I wanted to introduce him this month. This is Noe. He's our maintenance mechanic. He was hired in 2015 as an entry-level mechanic. During the last 9 years, Noe has excelled as a mechanic, increasing his knowledge of heavy-duty bus maintenance and earning several promotions throughout his way to the top. Noe's hard work and efforts resulted in him earning a promotion to the A-level mechanic position, which is the highest level that you can earn here. He has consistently performed above standard with no performance issues on record since I've been here. As an A-level mechanic, Noe often trains new and less experienced mechanics in bus maintenance. He has a pleasant demeanor. He has a positive attitude, which is contagious to his coworkers. When appropriate, Noe serves as a lead mechanic, where he is responsible for the entire shift. Noe's supervisors describe him as a self-starter who is highly motivated and extremely talented. So I present to you Noe, Employee of the Month.
Thank you, guys. I don't have much to say. We're gonna let them off the hook last month.
There you go.
And MST. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Noe.
This wall.
I know, I think a little more there.
Yeah, a bit of background.
Good call.
Oh, I knew that.
We could Photoshop something in on that that blank wall behind us though.
Too small.
Well, thank you again and congratulations to Noe and to Janet for that dedication, your commitment and enthusiasm, and continuing to be committed to our MST and also to our residents. So thank you. Okay, so we'll move on then to our next item on our agenda. And we are on reports and information items. So we have items 7-1 to 7-5, a general manager CEO monthly report, which is on page 67. And we also have the federal legislative advocacy report, which is on page 69. Your state advocacy update on page 71. and then the staff trip reports, and then correspondence. So in case there's any questions or comments from the directors. Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to board reports, comments, and referrals. Item A-1, reports on meetings attended by board members at MST expense, and I don't think we have any reports, correct? Okay. A-2, board member comments and announcements. So do we have any board member comments and announcements? And we do have, in your packet, just to note, the transit board members and board administrator seminar will happen July 13th to the 16th in San Jose, California. So early registration fee deadline is on May 24th, 2024.
So highly encourage board members. This is an opportunity to meet with your peers around the country, and it's right in our backyard in San Jose. That doesn't happen very often. So a number of you have attended these meetings elsewhere around the country, and I think I've heard back from the board members that they found it good to network and just a good source of information. Anna and I have been asked to participate on a panel on Sunday.
Then I'll be there.
So we'll be talking about the implementation of the Better Bus Network and how we will be able to grow ridership. So that will be attending. So I encourage you to reach out to us to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So please let us know that, Jeanette know if you're interested in attending. Okay, so with that, any other board comments from our board of directors?
Just for future agendas, I mistakenly thought it was on the agenda for a regular meeting. It was in our administrative performance committee earlier at 9 o'clock. But that's just about our polling results, about a potential Measure Q extension, or perhaps an enhanced 1/8 cent tax. The only reason I bring it up is because it sounded like maybe we're looking at 2026 to make a decision. But if we were gonna look at doing a Measure Q extension this November, I think the deadline is early August.
Right.
To put something on the November ballot. So it was timely, but in order to consider all options, that discussion should come to the full board sooner rather than later.
Yeah, thank you, Director Alejo, for bringing that up. Any other comments from our board, directors? Okay, so we'll move on then to our next item, board members referrals for future agenda items. So we did get Director Alejo's future agenda items to come back. Any other from our directors? Okay. Then seeing none, then you do have the attachments on the detailed monthly performance reports as part of the packet. And then if not, then at this time, if we don't have any comments or questions, we will move on to our closed, we'll recess to closed session. And we do have 2 closed session items for today. Conference with labor negotiations, Government Code 54957.6, MST and MST, and then conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, APN number 002-771-007-000 at 1037 Abbott Street, Salinas, and 002-771-00600 on South Sanborn Road, Salinas. So with that, we'll recess to close session.
Public comment.
Oh, public comments. Can I get public comments, please? Are there any public comments on our closed session items for today? Okay, none from our board here, any from Zoom? Okay, seeing none, then we will recess to closed session and come back to close out the meeting.
Michael, I've got a question. Ariana, can she participate in a closed session? If she shows up, I'll. Can we let her know? So I don't have staff cutting her off.
I have to deal with I went
You can't talk. Okay. Can you make that announcement? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Carl.
Hey.
Yeah, but this was.
No.
You need more order.
Oh, I wasn't happy.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. In fact,
It didn't just be.
Yeah.
Because I have to leave early now because of.
Yes.
I can't stay.
I
for the
see
whole-
stuff and they doesn't
Okay,
really
so
go
we're
into
gonna-
detail about it. It just says, oh, doing that, don't sell them, he's a liar, da, da, da. Like, well, I don't know what you say, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's always been good to me.
Oh, no, it's good, but you know what is good for him and his family?
Yeah, he didn't see.
So do you think you're gonna wanna go to that conference?
I don't know, I can have to check with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
The
you're involved too.
Well,
I got it.
Or 3.5.
Yeah, and then, but then they.
These are the numbers you should have
And then
used.
they,
So this
then they
number is too
stayed
high.
silent until they
Yeah.
So the
started
numbers should be
talking about
11,
the coastal development. permit.
3.5.
It's July. It's in the agenda. It's July. Okay, directors will come back to adjourn. Report out and then state it.
I am, but I need to confirm with the calendar on the refrigerator. So 13 through 16?
July.
Let me check.
You'll have to let me know before the 27th.
Okay. Okay. But how many members in board?
They want to encourage. Okay, so is everybody out in the?
Salinas is here.
Who cares?
Oh, here
Everybody
comes
else?
Marina.
Salinas is here.
Got the
I know
material.
Director Emilio needed to leave, so, and, Director Brody had to leave early. Okay. And then we just have. Oh, and Director Alejo.
And,
Oh, I thought he was
and
coming
Director Barron's out there campaigning.
Yeah,
So-
this will make sure we get We'll go get him so we can adjourn and then we.
Here, I'll go get him.
Thank you. And then
We
we
have a
also need
quorum
Michael
now?
to report out.
We need one more.
Jeanette, that's a no for me.
No. Yeah. So
Do you
it's
have the
there.
agenda for that?
Jack?
Consent of it?
Yes, I do.
And
Think
what's
we're
that
gonna-
for?
Yeah, the one for the. Yeah, do you want it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we can.
Before I
we
leave,
just
you
need-
said?
We just need Michael.
Before I
We need
leave?
him to report out. I can run up and get it.
Thank you. Good job there, Chair.
Well, I thought we were gonna be out of here at 12. How about you do?
Well, let me make you Chair of the Week.
We have Roy Rogers, I have to deal with Roy. And
Thank you for joining us.
No, I've got the number.
Yeah, I
Okay.
couldn't, it starts the 14th and I gotta, not babysit.
So we're reconvening
Babysitter.
from our closed session and we'll, before we adjourn, we wanna do a report out on, the 2 items, so I'll turn it over to, Mr. Loretto.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The board did meet in closed session on 2 items, regarding the first item, conference with labor negotiators regarding the MSTA contract. A general discussion was had, regarding the contents of that agreement, and it will be coming back in open session at your next meeting for discussion. Regarding the second item, conference with real property negotiators regarding those properties listed in Salinas, a general discussion was had, but there's no reportable action at this time. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And with that, if there's no further items of business, then this meeting is adjourned at 10:15. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you.
Okay, for Chip.